Hello, people of YouTube and everyone watching. I'm on my webcam currently, and I'm downstairs. I just really wanted to vent about the events of the past 24 hours. The US election, as I'm sure everyone knows by now, Donald Trump has been elected US president. Fucking hell. So here's my thoughts of, why I sort of half expected this to happen, why it's obviously terrible, and why things need to drastically change on every level of politics and, in society at large. Okay, so I'm just going to try and explain my take on why I could kind of see this coming, even though I didn't want to believe it, despite Brexit happening. Everyone completely underestimated the power of the electorate. So the polling was wrong, the media was wrong, public opinion was wrong, and I will tell you why. The silent majority of Trump supporters who don't publicly say that they are voting for Trump but do so anyway out of maybe they're ashamed or embarrassed, I don't know. And they don't want to be labelled as a racist. Even though there's a lot of racism in America. Let's face it, racism is an endemic, and especially in places like in the South and the Midwest, it's just not working. And Donald Trump, he was able to tap into attitudes that haven't able to, manifest themselves in decades. People feel isolated, they feel disenfranchised and not represented. I mean, a lot of people, especially a big factor in this election was the white male voters. A lot of them are racist, some people aren't racist, but having Trump as a candidate allowed them to speak out and say what they're feeling, and as a result of globalization, their jobs are being taken away from them. People are coming in to take their jobs away. They feel like they're being left behind in their sort of dust bowl states where, their past industries and, things like steel and iron and, raw materials that they used to, be successful. And now they're not because of digital technologies that are taking over. They have nowhere to go. That's the only thing that they know, and they can't keep up with it, and they're unhappy, and they want to vent this unhappiness in any way they can. And Trump is there for them, specifically has targeted them to, say what they think, and he's allowed that. And it's come out in the most twisted, horrible way, where, racism again is a massive factor in this, because he has not only been able to tap into industrial unhappiness and economic worries, but also culturally, and people just are inherently racist, afraid of the other, afraid of black people, afraid of women being in positions of power, LGBT people who, they might disagree with in terms of religious Christianity points of view, anything like that could be a legit reason for them to vote. And that is why they voted for Trump, because he has got the charisma in order to tell people, we're going to build a wall so we can get the jobs that you had back, stop Mexicans from coming in, stop Muslims from coming in because they're the bad people. We hate Muslims because they're terrorists. And Jesus Christ, it worked. People are stupid. A lot of people, uneducated people, believed it. And it's terrible that he managed to, you know, latch onto that mentality and those attitudes that justified, their behaviour. Something else that was also a massive contributor to the result at the end, and you can agree or disagree with me on this, but I think the media played a big role in his success because they covered him 24/7. The amount of coverage that he got compared to Hillary Clinton's campaign was just overkill. Every little thing that he did, every comment that he made, every time he referenced a Muslim in a negative light, every time he talked about women really grossly, every time he, said something that was really controversial, the media just covered it. And they're like, oh, what funny thing has he said now? Oh, how controversial. Oh, we'll cover that because it makes a good news story. Ha ha ha, how funny. And they just kept on and on and on. Every news outlet, from CNN to motherfucking Fox News, covered his ass consistently, every day, every hour, to see what would happen next. They even went as far as to interview the fuck out of his dumbass supporters, listening to what they were saying, even if it was uninformed, uneducated, lies, not even true. They covered it. And you know what? The people watching, his Trump supporters watching those news outlets, thought that was okay because the media covered it so much that they normalised that behaviour. They normalised his negative vitriol, and they thought, yeah, well, I can say that because the news have just made it okay for, me to say that because they're laughing at it. So it must be okay for me to say it. And it's normalisation, and you can't get away from it, but that's just how it ended up rolling because the media just overcovered and oversaturated his ass so much. They even filmed not even him, just his plane landing at a rally. And it's neo-fascism is what it is. And I think in a way the Democrats also failed to see this coming over the hill. In hindsight, you can see why it happened, but as it's happening, you want so badly to want the Democrats to win because, Hillary Clinton, feminist woman, stands for, human rights, LGBT rights, minorities, etc., etc. But they failed to see what was coming over the hill, and it was just a wave of revolution against the political elite. And I'm being 100% here, like, that is what happened. That's what happened in Brexit. People had had enough with the political establishment ignoring them for so long. They disliked Hillary. They didn't trust her because she comes from a long line of politicians who have done nothing for them, have done nothing for the working classes, and have felt completely isolated from the folks living in the White Ivory Tower for so long that they are completely disenfranchised, completely isolated. And that is why we have the result that we do, because they didn't see it coming, they failed to do anything about it, and the system needs a complete overhaul. Progressives need to get their ass in gear, liberals need to get their ass in gear, left-wingers need to get their ass in gear, particularly millennials who just sit there and decide not to vote because, they don't want to, because they don't feel like their voices are going to get heard. They don't like either of the candidates. They're going to vote for an independent because it's not going to make any difference. Fucking get up. Don't sit there and cry about it because you didn't vote. You don't have the right to complain. Stand up. Stop sitting there in fear because this has happened. If you want change, you are going to have to get up, stand up, and fight this horrible result that is now going to result in like terror, repeal of Obamacare. People now have the justification to say what they like about minorities. I predict that violence is going to happen, riots in the street, protests that are already happening. So we need to stop sitting here and crying about it. It's happened, we need to accept that, and we need to move forward and stand up and, progress. So there's so much more I could say about this. I mean, I feel sorry for minorities at the moment. I feel sorry for LGBTs. I feel sorry for people of religion, Muslims. I feel sorry for black people. But remember that we've had 8 years, America has had 8 years of an African American president, which is amazing and is huge progress. But at the same time, you have to think about this. The fact that during his 8 years in office, he has let police brutalise black people for no reason. He has let that happen. He's done nothing about it. He's also let, when kids are dying in schools because of massacres as a result of guns, he comes out, has a cry about it to everyone, and does nothing about it. You could talk about the NRA, and you could talk about Republicans, blocking everything he tries to do, which is arguable. But at the same time, as a president, you need to do something about it. Again, with the Dakota Access Pipeline, that's illegal. Police are targeting the wrong people. You've got, diggers digging up burial grounds and familial land, which is illegal, and police are not doing anything about it. Obama is doing nothing about it. He's not been there. So the only people that need to actually stand up and do something is you. You need to stand up and make your voice heard, because, we need to start a movement, a progressive movement that actually gets things done. Because fuck me, is the president going to get things done? He is constantly being blocked and blocked and blocked. Every time he tries to make a law, it is blocked consistently. Why do you think he's managed to get next to nothing done in his time of office? Because he keeps getting blocked by Republicans. So we need to make sure, Americans need to make sure that this does not happen again, that we need to stand up and do something, make our voices heard, start a movement whereby there are enough of us to, be positive and, not let hatred win, which is what has happened. So to round things off, yes, things are terrible. Things are awful. And, we have just witnessed a backwards presidency come into the fore. And as Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we go high. So that's what we need to do. And I also think politics as a whole needs to, realise what is happening on a global scale. What the people want. They are fed up. They do not want this anymore. They don't want to be ignored. And Brexit and this election and possibly European elections in the future is an effect of that. So we need a huge overhaul, and progressives need to really come out and get their ass in gear. I mean, really seriously. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn is one person. Bernie Sanders is one person. But we need more. We need bigger and better to fight this. And I think you guys watching are going to do that. So fingers crossed it will happen. So that's just my opinion on what I think and what I think is the reasoning for this happening. Please leave your comments down in the bottom, as always. And if you're a Trump supporter, please try not to be negative or hateful, please. So yeah, that is my view. So I'll see you guys soon in another video. Goodbye.